In this video, we will go far up the Kreung Krai Valley to the 250-kilometer mark on the Thailand-Burma Railway, at Krian Krai as it was usually called. Currently submerged at the bottom of the lake, let's see how this area looked during the war, from Krian Krai station around the bend to bridge Q392. This remarkable photo was taken from a British Mosquito aerial recon plane on 17th of November 1943, and we are looking down on the railway less than a month after it was completed. There is a lot to talk about here, so we'll start on the right and work our way along the railway line. I'm not sure what this camp is. These look like tents and are very similar to those seen in other POW camps around this time. I think this is a temporary extension of the main Krian Krai camp, probably to house one of the POW groups who moved up from the south in the final push to complete the railway. But I don't know for sure. If anyone has information on this, please let us know in the comments. One thing which is really striking is how new the railway earthworks look. You can see the smooth earth sides of the embankments where the undergrowth has yet to take hold. In photos taken later in the war, it's sometimes difficult to even see the railway track because of all the weeds. But in November 1943, it's all very new. Just down the line, we come to the tiny Krian Krai station with its short passing siding or running loop. There is also a small cluster of buildings in the station area. Where the siding ends, the railway rounds a long sweeping curve around the valley and over the huge 420-foot bridge Q390. Right in the center of the photo, between the railway and the river, we can see the large Krian Krai POW camp which housed a mix of British, Dutch and Australian prisoners on the riverbank at a bend in the Kreung Krai River. It is a large camp, and at first glance it's difficult to tell what all these buildings are. We need to look at a couple of camp sketch maps drawn by the POWs to understand what we are looking at. These two maps both show the same general details, with the camp located at a bend in the river and the long curve in the railway line, the railway station, and the big bridge. Both maps also give a plan of the cemetery with 38 graves. Note that the first 6 graves are actually one communal grave. But the two maps add different and useful details. On the left, we have a map from a Dutch POW, which shows a lot of detail within the camp. We can see a road coming down from the railway station into the camp, and then branching off upriver to the cemetery. Inside the camp, the long buildings are the barracks, and beside them is the camp canteen and an unlabeled building. The camp cookhouse and probably the stores were on the riverbank. Just beside the kitchen, we find the Japanese stores and canteen. The main part of the Japanese camp is between the POW camp and the bridge. The map on the right shows no detail within the camp, but it does add some important detail in the surroundings. It labels the cemetery as being 140 yards from the camp. Also important are these markings, which indicate the very steep hillside between the railway and the river in this section. You can see the first 6 names in the cemetery list, buried together in that communal grave, were Australians who were killed in a serious construction accident. We'll come back to this in a minute. My friend Stefan has posted an article about this accident on his excellent Facebook page about the railway. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. He also mentioned that there were actually 42 graves in this cemetery, with 4 additional graves not included in these documents. Coming back to the aerial photo, now it is very clear that the camp is split into 2 halves, the POW camp on the right and the Japanese camp on the left. These are the barracks for the POWs, the camp canteen, and the unlabeled building. The cookhouse and probably the storehouse are on the riverbank. The Japanese stores and cookhouse are here on the river, and the rest of the Japanese camp is towards the curve and the bridge. Here is the road coming from the railway station going into the camp. It branches, and 140 yards upriver takes us exactly to this clearing, which is likely the camp cemetery. Back to that steep hillside marked in the camp sketch map. The railway was cut into a ledge above the river near Krian Krai, as shown in these photos from the Japanese photo book Distant Whistle. You can imagine how dangerous this work would have been, especially in the wet season, clambering up and down the slippery ground while drilling and blasting a ledge for the railway. Apparently, at one point in a cutting, there was a rock bluff overhanging the railway trace. Holes for dynamite had been drilled in this overhang, but the Japanese refused to charge and blast it. The POWs requested to the Japanese repeatedly to bring this dangerous overhang down, to no avail, and eventually it collapsed, resulting in the deaths of those 6 Australians. This is the section along the river which is shown in the Distant Whistle photos. Unfortunately, it's shaded by a passing cloud, but we can make out the railway cut into the hillside, and also the enormous slope of rock rubble. This photo, also from Distant Whistle, shows a southbound train heading towards Kanchanaburi along that same ledge. The amount of excavated rock is incredible. Just beyond, where the railway follows a bend in the river, there is a deep cutting. This is very likely the cutting where that construction accident happened. Also notable is this bridge. I mentioned in a previous video discussing the total number of bridges along the railway that a small number of bridges were missed in DIR 0.87, which counted 688. This bridge is another example. The DIR notes bridge Q390 back at the POW camp, and then a bank for 630 yards, which is this ledge, and then this cutting, and then the 160-foot-long bridge Q391 over a stream and gorge. But this small bridge was missed out completely. This photo, also from Distant Whistle, is almost certainly bridge Q391, taken from this hilltop. It shows the railway emerging from the cutting with another huge slope of broken rock spilling down the ravine. Also note the platform halfway across the bridge, and the extensive timber forms to support the rock at the bridge ends. Immediately beyond this is bridge Q392, a 140-foot bridge over another stream and gorge. At this time, Q392 is a single bridge, but we will see in a minute that the Japanese had a second bridge built right beside the first. Fast forward a year and a half, and this photo was taken on April 14, 1945, from an Allied Liberator bomber which has released a single Azon bomb falling towards Q390. Two things are very obvious. First, the Krian Krai POW camp has been dismantled and there's virtually no trace of it left other than a few marks on the ground. And second, we can see that a new alignment is being prepared for the railway, using a tighter curve to hug the hillside and eliminate the need for a bridge. All along the railway, upgrades like this were being built as the Allied air raids focused on destroying the bridges. I believe this photo shows bridge Q390, taken from this end of the bridge looking back towards where the new bypass is being cut out of the hill. The bush, the ledge, and broken rock slope all match perfectly, although in this photo the ledge is still being cut down to the railway level. A few seconds later, the bomb detonates very near the bridge, which is now obscured by a huge plume of dust and smoke. This was among the first of many bombs aimed at the bridge during this attack. This bomb plot shows the damage from this raid. 17 bombs have impacted around Q390, and possible damage to the bridge is noted. This plot also shows damage to the bridges farther north at Nikkei and Sonkarai during the same raid. Q392 is now a double bridge. I'm not sure why the Japanese needed to build a second wooden bridge right beside the first one. This close-up photo shows these two bridges under attack again 10 days later on April 24, 1945, taken from only 800 feet up. The south end of bridge Q391 has been destroyed, and it gives a very clear view of that strange double bridge Q392. And that's all for this quick look at the Krian Krai area of the Thailand-Burma Railway, as it was 80 years ago during the war. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.